The Black Myth Wukong journey has been insane. The love of the series itself and everything we have experienced together, if you've been watching from the jump to now, has been 10 out of 10. But as we continue, I have so many more questions that I feel like are going to hinder my understanding and soon maybe my enjoyment of the game. So I need to take an episode where we kind of go back and understand the story itself. Now I say an episode because if you're new here, playthroughs are kind of like series, you know what I'm saying? We call them animes. Can I get your opinion real quick, bro? What you think of this plant? What you think of this plant right here, bro? I feel like it looks good, bro. I like it. Let me know. Anyways, today, like I said, we're going to go on a bit of a memory lane, but also not a memory that I have, a memory that I'm going to gain. If you guys recall, in the beginning of when we played Black Myth Wukong, I didn't know what the fuck was happening. I thought you play as Wukong, but you play as a myth version of Wukong after Wukong died or whatever, and you're trying to bring him back with his artifacts. I feel like I know that much. I think so. But I don't know, and I want to know as we continue to beat in the game. When I get into something, I want to know everything about it. So that's what we're doing today. But to do that, I also need to know how strong Wukong is. Now, my knowledge that I thought I had was clearly not what is, because so many times y'all tell me some in the comment section that I had no clue of. Like, one of the things that I heard that is just so crazy to me is that Wukong can summon a lot of clones, but if you kill the main host of the clone for Wukong, then Wukong can just reincarnate through another clone. But what's crazy is killing someone who has immortality doesn't quite make sense to me. But I need to understand. So this video is 6 minutes long. I want you, the viewer, show some love to this video and all videos in the description down below. I'm gonna call them out as we're about to watch them. This first one is called How Strong is Sun Wukong? Came out a year ago, and I want to know how strong he is. I'm not gonna lie. You gonna tell me?
How strong is Sun Wukong?
Oh, hold on. Let me shout out the channel, bro. What am I doing, bro? This is by the guy Official Divine. Go show him some love. You know what I'm saying? Do what I do better, bro.
Sun Wukong, a god with great infatuation with life and wisdom, vows he will never lose it. No matter how many ascend upon the Monkey King, he will not die. His story is actually the inspiration for Son Goku, with
Dragon Ball
having a tail, power pole, and Nimbus cloud to match.
Yep.
Sun Wukong on his journey to the west gains multiple layers of immortality by eating pills of longevity, practicing Tao, and eating an entire garden of heaven peaches.
Okay, wait, let's think about it for a second. Pills of longevity, practicing Taoism, and going to the garden in heaven and eating peaches. The peaches, someone explained to me what that does for someone living a long time. Were those some good ass peaches? I don't know, bro.
Each one of these heaven peaches grants another layer of immortality.
Okay. So each one of the peaches grants a layer of immortality. He showed a screenshot in the beginning of longevity pills. Like, I gotta quickly read that because I want to see what that does too. Hold on. Okay, I just had it and I skipped it like a bot. Okay, known as the immortal's greatest treasure, filled with curiosity about the pills, Wukong eats a gourd of them. Those who eat the pills will become immortal. Okay. But like, how much immortality are you able to get? Like, does it not matter? Can you what? Okay, the word immortality means you can't die, but he is like eating more as if he can still die.
Longevity, practicing Tao, and eating an entire garden of heaven peaches. Each one of these heaven peaches grants another layer of immortality. He even crossed his name out of the Book of Death. He has the ability to shapeshift into anything he wants, and with his ability called the 72 transformation.
He's not answering the question, but I need someone to answer it for me. Can you kill him? I guess he died in the beginning of Black Myth Wukong, but the term Black Myth is like, this is a myth of a situation. But is there a scenario that don't tell me, don't spoil it. I guess I'll figure that out in the game. Let's keep on going.
He has 72 lives, meaning you have to kill an immortal god 72 times, and every time someone tries to kill him, it only makes him stronger.
Like a Zenkai boost.
When heaven tried every method
that's what Dragon
to kill Sun Wukong, even the de-immortalizing furnace, but it only made the Monkey King more powerful. So that's where Zenkais come from.
Yeah,
Sun Wukong
exactly.
also has the ability to copy his opponent's strength, as shown in his battle with deity Prince Nocha. Nocha turned into a more powerful state, having 3 more heads and 6 more arms.
Oh, we fought that.
Sun Wukong laughed, did the same, and defeated him like it was nothing.
Bro, what?
This ability of copying opponent's strength is only limited to Sun Wukong's imagination. Sun Wukong felt that no weapon on Earth suited him, so he decided to storm into the Dragon King's palace and took the Rui Jingu Bang, a pillar that was originally designed to measure the depths of the ocean.
Oh my gosh.
Size just like Wukong, it can shrink to the size of a needle and grow to pierce the clouds of heaven.
Oh my
Each hair on
gosh.
Sun Wukong's body, 84,000 to be exact, can be turned into literally anything he wants.
Wait. Hold on. Having a comprehension problem. Say that one more time. I'm listening.
Sun Wukong's body, 84,000 to be exact.
Wait, go back a little bit more. I blinked.
And grow to pierce the clouds of heaven.
Okay.
Each hair on Sun Wukong's body, 84,000 to be exact, can be turned into literally anything he wants.
Oh, okay, like we see.
He can literally make anything. He can make weapons, copies of himself, and even copies of his opponents. Fighting against Sun Wukong is basically fighting a nearly infinite amount of opponents that can match your power in an instant, each one having multiple layers of immortality, growing exponentially stronger throughout the battle, and you have to kill all of them 72 times to finally win.
What? What? Oh, so Kratos is never beating Wukong. I get it now. I get it. Goku is never beating Wukong. Wow. So wait, why, why does someone then fight more with getting to that heights? That's the Dragon Ball effect. You have to kill every clone 72 times. So what I heard, there's more layers to it. So even if you kill the main host, he can just come back 72 times. Still. And the main host can be the clone, because the clone is the main host. What?
Broken. Sun Wukong becomes increasingly more powerful with each battle, defeating 600 gods, 28 of which are constellation gods.
Understood that, kinda.
The entire Milky Way galaxy, which was stated to be infinite in size, over his head. After defeating every warrior in heaven, he decided to fight the Buddha himself. Buddha made a deal with Sun Wukong. If he could jump out of his hand, he could take the Jade Emperor's throne for himself. Sun Wukong, loving
That's an ugly baby,
agreed to Buddha's deal. Wukong jumped to the other end of heaven. However, he already lost. Sun Wukong never left the Buddha's hand. Buddha has achieved true nirvana, meaning he holds all of existence in his hand. And Sun Wukong was not able to jump beyond existence.
Okay. So question. One thing that I mentioned in the last episode, or one of the episodes of Wukong, was how I thought it was blasphemous for someone saying they're going to become a Buddha. But apparently in that belief, anybody can become a Buddha or something, because it's like enlightenment. So when they say the Buddha in this regard, who are they referring to exactly? Because now I'm confused. Is it the common Buddha that you see all the like statues of, the yellow, big one? Or is it like a different Buddha that specifically wanted smoke with Wukong
for 500 years and released him to continue his journey.
Yeah, he sealed them.
He grew stronger and stronger, defeating entities that could destroy all of existence with a whistle. He was able to hold up Mount Sumeru on one shoulder.
Oh my gosh, this is just overkill.
A mountain that holds up
Kratos could not do anything.
During his journey, Sun Wukong was able to reach perfection, reaching the remainder stage or incomplete stage of Nirvana. This stage of Nirvana is described as being beyond all concepts and limitations and existing as a boundless entity beyond everything.
Alien X head ass
transcends the god realms and formless realms, with the formless realms being stated to have no direction and no physical form, putting them above dimensionality itself, making this realm outer-versal in nature.
Outer-versal.
The god realms transcending the
outer-versal. I have never heard that before. Hold on. Outer-versal characters exist outside the concept of life and death, beyond the concept of reality, space, time, dimensions, binary opposition, concepts, and so on. Beyond reality. A character can be outer-versal even without infinite layered cosmology. Shallow vernal is a good example of this. Higher dimensions exist in her verse, and she's beyond the framework of dimensions. No matter, all right, I kind of want to just go on a rabbit hole and figure out who this is now, because now I just need to know what an outerversal being looks like. All right, so I looked up this character, and for a split second, I feel like I'm in 2003 YouTube, so I'm scared. I don't care about this character anymore. Let's continue with this video.
Realms, with there being 28 realms in total, and Nirvana is above this. Reaching this grants him strength 3 layers into outerversal, but then he did it. At the end of the journey to the west, Sun Wukong was the most powerful he has ever been, solidifying him as the strongest god in the pantheon. He was brought before the Buddha himself and transcended to the complete stage of Nirvana, becoming the sage over heaven, the fighting Buddha Wukong. Wukong reaching this final stage puts him above everything in existence, making him more powerful than bodhisattvas, beings that have achieved this incomplete stage of nirvana, and they state that Buddhas are incomprehensible to them, with bodhisattvas being part of the transcendent. The transcendent is being above all worlds, never returning to anything lower, meaning an infinite hierarchy of outerversal beings, with Buddha Wukong looking down at all of this. Wukong now having high outerversal strength.
What, bro?
All-knowing.
High outerversal, bro. A depth of a concept that cannot be conceived. He's scaling in that. This actually makes me appreciate Dragon Ball Super so much more, because now knowing the actual depths of where Wukong went and seeing how stupid Goku was for the tournament of power and making that happen, that is so on brand for not only Goku's character but the inspiration of Goku's character. That is fire. That is fire. Now I gotta rewatch Dragon Ball, and I feel like I'm gonna like it so much more now, because I get Goku's character. I get it. It was stupid before. Okay, you know now what is so stupid to me? Now I do not get, because in the Cell arc, I'm about to go down a rabbit hole, bro, but I'm gonna say it. The Cell arc, remember when Gohan was like watching on the sidelines, and Goku's like, yeah, I can't do it. Go get him, son. And Gohan gets his ass beat. Like, Goku was only like a percentage sure that he could possibly beat him, but he didn't know it could happen for sure. And now I'm just like, why didn't Goku do what he could to beat Cell? I think that was a moment outside of Goku's, well, it's his own character. Now I'm just getting too deep into the semantics, but let's continue.
All-powerful and omnipresent, meaning he's everywhere and nowhere, all at once. Fighting against Sun Wukong is a fight you're not going to win.
I see.
Layers of immortality, and the fact that he's literally above life and death itself. Sun Wukong is truly one of the most powerful characters in all of fiction. It's almost ridiculous how broken Sun Wukong is.
It's insane.
Any opponent that he faces, he can simply make 84,000 copies of them.
It's insane.
And sit back as you fight 84,000 versions.
It's insane. It's insane. It's insane. It's insane.
The Monkey King, the Fighting Buddha, Sun Wukong. What's up, guys? It's Divine. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you guys leave a like.
I did. Bro, do what he, listen to him.
What character in fiction do you think can defeat?
Show some love over there, please, bro, please. But oh my gosh, that makes so much sense. That makes so much sense why I'm being looked at like I'm crazy when I say Kratos could possibly do it. So here was my argument. Now that I understand, I feel like I can just lay everything out there, because this is not what I believe anymore. But I'm thinking there's a version of Kratos that makes sense to fight a version of Wukong, because the time period within Kratos' journey and Wukong's journey, well, Wukong, he has a complete story, but Kratos is still continuing. So in my mind, I'm thinking young Kratos fighting like the beginning of the journey of the West Wukong, but that doesn't make too much sense, right? It would probably be middle of Journey of the West, because that's when he's able to fight. But I think even in the middle of that, he's fucking cracked. I don't think nobody's beating him. I don't think he see what I'm not understanding, that this didn't really give understanding to, more so telling me, is did he always have the powers to pluck hairs to transform the things? Did he always have the powers for the clones and just morphing into something else? Like, I don't understand the power system that Wukong kind of picks from to get further and further strengths. Did this come from him eating the pills of longevity or the peaches in heaven? How did the monkey get into heaven in the first place? Who gave him the keys? Who let him in? There's still some questions that I don't have, but I think that's for another time when I can find another video that I will watch on my own. But This gives me a great understanding of what I basically asked. How strong is that? Yes. Now this next video is something that someone sent me on Twitter, and I didn't think anything of it at the time because, you know, I try to stay away from anything that someone could link me that could possibly be a spoiler. And that's videos, all Wukong videos. Nope, I'm not interested. I wait until I beat the game and then I go back and spin the block and watch things and learn as much as I can. But with this one, I then peeked that it was a explanation of all the bosses, and then I saw at the end it was within chapter 1. That is amazing because chapter 1 is the only chapter where I didn't understand anything that happened really at all. I think chapter 2 I figured out enough as things progressed to where I feel very solid on that information. Whatever the secret mission we did just it told me so much. And then chapter 3, that was cinema. That was beautiful. There was one thing about chapter 3 that I thought was really cool that I'll explain it at another time, so I'm not rambling so much. But let's watch this video. Once again, like before, I need you guys to show some love. You know what to do, bro. You know what to do, bro.
Let's briefly summarize the setup of the game so that everyone's on the same page.
Please,
As many
please.
of you probably know by now, the game starts off with the player taking control of the mythical Sun Wukong himself, facing a vast heavenly host that's composed of thousands of soldiers, enormous giants, a pretty man with a third eye, and even a dog.
Yes,
but
and
after
dog.
this cool yet brief scene, the game straight up kills Wukong off before even the title screen shows up.
So
As a side note,
this is something I'm gonna get the answer to, but I'm gonna rhetorically say my confusion about this, what he just said. Now understanding a bit of Wukong and just how strong dude is. How do you kill someone who has a buffet of layers of immortality? And from what I just remembered in that cutscene, it was just a basic spear pierced to a rock, and it wasn't even that crazy to me. Like it wasn't even a crazy attack. And that just did it. That did it. That took away someone who wrote his name out the book of death, who ate the buffet of peaches, the longevity Prozacs back to back, and even learning a whole religion, Taoism. I don't understand. I don't understand how that could happen, but I don't want you to tell me. I'm going to figure it out as I play. It's just my confusion. I'm verbalizing it.
We know this scene takes place after the events of the novel Journey to the West due to several little details sprinkled here and there, such as the aforementioned pretty man known as Erlang Shen, referring to Wukong as the victorious fighting Buddha, which is a title Wukong did not receive until the end of the novel, after the conclusion of the fabled journey. We're then given some exposition about Wukong's essence being split into 6 relics representing the 6 senses that make up a living being in Buddhism, which are also represented by physical organs: eyes with sight, ears with sound, nose with smell, tongue with taste, body with touch, and mind with awareness or
I gotta go back
objects.
and look at those.
It's at this point that you take control of the actual character you'll be playing throughout the story, an unnamed yet strangely familiar looking monkey known only as the Destined One, with your entire goal being to set off and retrieve these 6 relics or 6 essences of Sun Wukong, which also divides the entire experience of the game into 6 chapters, each of which has a final boss to defeat in order to retrieve said relic. The first chapter,
so there's
which is
6
the chapter
chapters
that we'll be focusing on in this video, is called Black Cloud, Red Fire, and takes place on the Black Wind Mountain and deals with the first relic, the Craving Eyes, guided by the fearsome Black Wind King. By the way, most of the bosses of each chapter have stories and lore that are typically pretty interconnected with one another, which is a sign of some amazing writing if you ask me, but because of this, I'll be explaining the story of the Black Wind King, whose true name is Haifeng Guai, alongside the other main bosses. But first, let's talk about the minor bosses that aren't quite as connected to one another. The first of these minor bosses, as well as the first boss in the entire game, would be the Bull Guard.
Isn't it not the baby?
Yao Guai. And while we're on the topic, I feel like we do need to cover what exactly a Yao Guai is, in case
it's a demon, right?
Especially
a monster?
as opposed to the Western idea of what a demon is, which is typically what they end up being translated to in English, although this comparison isn't entirely accurate.
Bro, buddy. Don't piss me off. Hold on. Buddy in the middle is working for that kill, bro. Like, it's insane. Like, he's putting his everything into that.
Which is typically what they end up being translated to in English, although this comparison isn't entirely accurate. When Europeans or other Western civilizations think of a demon, it's assumed that it is a supernatural being, but typically there's also an attached moral implication along with said being. And by moral implication, I mean evil. Satan and his demons are considered evil in Christianity, and demons are typically shown in media as opposing what is good or morally upright, and oftentimes want to cause harm to the good people of our planet Earth. They're also typically associated with a higher power that they follow, such as Satan or another devil figure. A Yao Guai, on the other hand, is in fact a similar supernatural deity like a demon, which may or may not look humanoid, but is only sometimes depicted as being immoral. They definitely don't have to be. Many Yao Guais are amoral, or rather just neutral, and worry about their own interests, regardless of any higher power, while still being a supernatural entity that possesses supernatural abilities. In fact, they're often depicted as being able to experience the full range of human emotions right alongside humans. In Black Myth Wukong, the vast majority of both NPCs and enemies that the Destined One encounters are Yao Guais, with more powerful Yao Guais being called Yao Guai chiefs and the most powerful called Yao Guai kings, or queens if they're a female.
I never noticed that.
Bullguard. This Guai story is extremely simple, in that he's a large, powerful, and incredibly loyal follower of the Black Wind King, who stationed the Bullguard as the gatekeeper of the mountain. Basically the ultimate bouncer. It is
so he just kind of showed a brief picture that you can kind of learn all these things in the journal. And I did point that out too, that that's a thing. And I've read it when it came in handy to, you know, basically, how you say, finding an end of a side quest. But one detail I feel like a lot of you guys aren't too aware that I have, I'm dyslexic. So reading is not my strong suit, and it's not something that even when you hear, like I'll read, like watch this. I'll explain exactly how I see words and how it is for me. All right. For more than a century, Bullguard stood watch, never once climbing the ranks. All right, bet. So I can't see the A here, really. I think this is I'm looking at stand and then rocks, but the thing is, I'm used to seeing the words in my way, but I'm able to it's like a pattern thing. So I'm used to seeing in a certain way. I couldn't tell you what I just read. All right. I have to pick up on the last 3 words, last 4 words, the key words of a sentence to try to assume what they were saying. My comprehension is kind of cut in half because I'm spending so many time. So I'm spending time decoding as fast as I'm reading so that I come off as I'm like normal with it. So many times I'll read like manga or something like that I enjoy. And what I think happened never actually happened. It happens all the time. But yeah, you know, the more you know. If you made it this far in the video, you get how my Sharingan works. What is this? For more than a century, Bullguard stood watch, never
religiously stood guard day after day for more than a century. He didn't really get
anywhere in the rank?
He never once tried to climb the ranks of the king's forces or do pretty much anything besides stand guard for the king. His payment was in the form of pills, which the king would feed to his wolf Guai forces as payment for their service. These pills were believed to make the wolves stronger, and the Bullguard took their consumption so seriously and devoutly that he literally made a shrine for said pills, and would bathe his body and offer incense to the universe before eating them. Eventually, some of the other Guais in the king's forces began asking the Bullguard how it is that he became so big and powerful and full of vigor, especially since his job as the ultimate bouncer entailed more or less standing in one place. The Bullguard responded by saying it was only the king's pills that made him the way he is, and they too could be as big and burly and strong as he is if only they would keep up with eating their own pills. The other Guais didn't buy that though, and claimed that they had been keeping up with their own pills, and they were still not super strong, implying the Bullguard's pills were clearly better than theirs. Bullguard was astonished at the notion of the king choosing favorites and said there's no way there would be a difference in pill power. So then the Guais decided to exchange pills with him to test it out. And wouldn't you know it, nothing changed. The Bullguard was still huge and robust after consuming their pills, and the other Guais were still not after consuming the Bullguard's. The ending to his story
just had
is
that
less
dog in
ambiguous, but in my opinion, this means that the Bullguard was just a naturally bigger Guai than the others.
Yeah,
and the effects of the pills were really just placebo. Although the revelation of the pills being essentially fake didn't do much of anything to sway the Bullguard's undying devotion, who continues to stand guard until the Destined One kills them in-game. There are 2 other unrelated bosses in Chapter 1. One being the first of the Killer Frog Company, known as Ba Ligolang, and the first of the Angry Dragon Company, known as the Red Long. both of these are actually related to their own much bigger frog and dragon stories and have very little, if anything, to do with the other bosses of Chapter 1.
You can move on.
Covering them separately in an upcoming video.
Love this guy.
You may want to make sure you're subscribed to stick around for
I'm already there.
I'm already there. With the lesser bosses out of the way, it's time to talk about the main cast. Starting with the top, the Black Wind King himself, who first appears to the Destined One near the summit of the Black Wind Mountain in humanoid form as a pretty jacked dude wielding a black tassel spear, but in reality is actually an enormous black bear demon, or more accurately...
Bro, that connection hit me so late in that storyline that is low-key embarrassing, but yeah, they're the same thing.
The very powerful Black Bear Guai, a Yao Guai king. Much of his backstory comes... Much of his backstory comes from the Journey to the West novel, where he's first introduced as a Yao Guai that lives on Blackwind Mountain. He has struggled with greed in his personal life, but was actually decently interested in Buddhism, and would visit the nearby Guanyin monastery from time to time, even going so far as to befriend and teach a young boy who eventually became known as the Jinchi Elder of the Guanyin monastery. The Black Bear would teach the Jinchi Elder certain magics that enabled the Elder to live a very long life. 270 years of life, in fact. This Elder shared the bear's greedy nature, which in my opinion might even be why they got along so well. Game knows game after all. The Black Bear's path crossed Sun Wukong's in the novel when the Guanyin monastery was burned down by the hands of the very same Elder Jinchi, his friend, who is actually another boss in the game who the Destined One can encounter by traveling to the projected ancient Guanyin temple. In case you didn't know, the actual journey to the west
wait, hold on. One more time on that.
Nature, which in my opinion Wukong's in the novel when the Guanyin monastery was burned down by the hands of the very same Elder Jinchi, his friend, who is actually another boss in the game who the Destined One can encounter by traveling to the projected ancient Guanyin temple.
That's crazy!
The actual Journey to the West detailed in the book Journey to the West involves a group of pilgrims, led by the monk known as Tang Sanzang, who is escorted by 3 powerful individuals. The Monkey King, Sun Wukong, the Pig Man, Zhu Bazie, who, fun fact, Ganon from the Legend of Zelda series was based off of, and Sha Wujing, who a lot of people tend to forget about. The party happened upon the Guanyin monastery at some point in their travels where they met the Elder Jinchi and were greeted and allowed to sit down for a meal. As the evening progressed, the Elder, who again liked material treasures, eventually asked Tang if he had any grand treasures to show off. Even though Tang politely declined showing off anything, Wukong decided to show off Tan Sangzang's extravagant Buddhist robes, called a cassock, or more specifically, the Kasaya of Eversparks. And this inadvertently led to the Elder becoming consumed with greed and wanting them. So consumed, in fact, that the Elder Jinchi ended up plotting with some of his underlings to burn down the building that Wukong and his party would be sleeping in, which I'll explain more of later on in the video. Fortunately for Master Sanzang though, the Monkey King found out about this and prevented their room from burning down just in the nick of time, but in doing so caused the rest of the entire temple to burn down instead. While all this commotion—
Bro, I did not gather that from that animation. There's so much, bro, but now understanding that, how they depicted that happening is such a beautiful form of animation, bro, because it was in such an artistic manner. Like, that was the last thing I thought was happening there. I thought Buddy was getting possessed by something, bro. That's fire. What the heck?
Was happening. The Black Bear Guai had approached the temple to actually help the monks out, specifically including his friend the Elder. But being a greedy individual himself, he then saw the Kasaya and he wanted it for himself. So he ended up just stealing it and running away, assuming that the Elder Jinchi would be safe, and leaving the temple and its monks in flames. After which the Black Bear organized a banquet to celebrate his obtaining the Kasaya, which apparently was a really cool Kasaya. The Elder Jinchi then came back to his senses and, after realizing what he had done, ended up committing suicide. Especially since Tang's party was still alive. Wanting his Kasaya of Eversparks back though, Tang then made Wukong set off to retrieve it, since it was really Wukong's idea that made the Elder jealous in the first place. Wukong then set off and spoke with Guanyin, who is another very powerful and influential mythological/religious individual, as well as what's known as a Bodhisattva, or in other words, an individual who is enlightened to the point of reaching nirvana and becoming a Buddha themselves, but delays doing so out of philanthropy, wanting to help their fellow humans. As a side note, Guanyin is also the one responsible for creating Wukong's headband and giving it to Tang Sanzang in order to control the monkey, which will tighten to the point of intolerable headaches when a certain mantra is recited, even being able to kill the monkey should he rebel enough. But anyway, Guanyin agrees to help Wukong in retrieving this Kasaya, which results in Wukong killing the black bear's remaining friends. The first of which is a white-clad scholar, which we'll get to a little bit later on, and a little while later, the second of which was an old wolf Guai known as Ling Shusi, who was a wise old Guai interested in researching the secrets of immortality, and who was also preparing magical pills for the king's banquet. Sun Wukong then turned into one of these pills while Guanyin disguised herself as the deceased Ling Shusi, offering this pill wink wink to the king, which, as a reminder in case you've forgotten the past seconds, is actually Wukong himself. After he is swallowed by the black bear, he then beats the literal crap out of the king insides until the black bear yields out of pain and hands back over the Kasaya.
This plot is literally the Boo saga, bro. They got eaten on purpose. No, that's not what happened, kinda. But nope. That's not how that ended. My fault.
Again in the process, who then gives him a headache-inducing circlet very similar to the one she gave Wukong in order to force the bear into service, serving as the protector deity of the Black Wind Mountain ever since. He ended up being in service to Guanyin for an unknown amount of time following the events of the book, and according to the game lore, along the way learned a certain magical mantra that allowed for the resurrection of the dead by using other corpses. Though it wasn't always successful, which we'll see in just a bit. After Wukong's trio retrieved the Kasaya successfully and headed off on their other adventures, the first person the king tried to resurrect using this new mantra was none other than old Ling Shuzi himself, his old wolf friend who was killed by Wukong. Since Ling Shuzi was the leader of the wolf pack in his life, the black bear hoped that he would once again lead them in his resurrection alongside him. The king used the corpses of apparently voluntary other wolf guais in order to bring Ling Shuzi back, but after his resurrection, Ling Shuzi ran away from him. According to in-game lore, Ling Shuzi expressed his incredibly deep-set guilt over being resurrected using the corpses of other innocent wolf guais to the white-clad noble over a pot of tea, who is another boss the Destined One encounters in the game, which we'll talk about a little bit later. After a brief conversation regarding the morality of the king's plans and schemes, he then stands up, asks rhetorically how he could possibly bear to live like this on their blood, tells the noble to inform their master that he need not come to see Ling Shuzi any longer, and then walks off into the woods, down a new path, where he ends up taking his own life by hanging. His corpse of which we can actually find in-game. We never know if the king found his old friend's body, but out of a fear that the wolf pack would fall apart entirely and leave without a leader, he then appointed another powerful wolf guai who arrived from another land, who brought with him several other wolves. He even went so far as to name this new powerful grey wolf leader the second Ling Shusi, who is the actual Ling Shusi that the Destined One encounters and fights in the game. This new grey Ling Shusi differed quite a bit from the original in that he didn't care too much about wisdom or pills or tea.
So the other Ling Shusi is the dude who hung himself, and this is the new one that took his, like, I guess, position because it was given to him. That's sick.
And was much more of a brute who relied on strength and fear to incite loyalty.
Completely opposite from the previous.
Well with the original wolf pack who followed the original Ling Shusi. This almost led to a bloodbath between the old and new wolf packs, but was broken up before it got too bad by another individual known as the Fireblade Wolf.
What?
A wolf guai known as Guangxi, who is another boss we encounter in the game. After which the new Ling Shusi resided in the temple, commanding the new wolf pack under the Black Wind King, while the old wolf pack vowed to never again set foot inside the temple walls. Guangxi the Fireblade was a member of this original wolf pack who were all loyal to the original Ling Shusi, and in his youth, before he was even given the name Guangxi, always dreamed of being human. He would try to take human shape and play with the other human children in town,
like
but they would always figure out that he wasn't human and was a wolf guai in disguise and chase him away. This made him really sad, and he asked the other older wolf guais why the humans would treat him like this, to which they replied by saying it's because he doesn't act human even though he may look it temporarily. Taking this to heart, the pup pleaded to his master Ling Shusi I to help him out and grant him this wish, which prompted Ling Shusi to agree out of compassion for the pup, and the two of them went to see the black bear, who then transformed the young guai into a human monk, sending him into human society to study under the bear's friend, the elder Jinchi. The pup monk didn't do super well at first, as he was not very accustomed to human interaction and would fall for every single trick the other monks played on him, being unfortunately full of heart, but a bit slow and gullible. This prompted his new master elder Jinchi to name him Guangxi, which means the Great Wisdom, hoping that it would mean the pup would grow up to be more clever and sharp-witted and therefore not quite as bullyable. Eventually though, this was successful, and Guangxi learned to read and write and all the other trendy monk things, and this led to him officially assimilating into the ranks of the other monks, where he existed all the way until one fateful day when a certain traveling pilgrim group stopped by composed of a wise human monk and a rowdy monkey. Once Guangxi witnessed his master Jinqi's desperate longing for the Kasaya of Eversparks, out of his devotion and deep-set gratitude for the elder, he began to speak with the elder, and upon being goaded by one other particular individual, which we'll speak about in just a bit, devised a plan among the three of them to steal the Kasaya involving fire. However, by the next day, not only would his plan fail, but the entire temple that he called home would instead be burned to the ground. The elder Jinqi would take his own life because of this failure. His beloved old master Xingxuzi would then be killed by the monkey, and even the mighty Black Bear Guai himself would be defeated and surrender entirely to Guanyin. Seeing all this suffering, he took ownership and internalized all of it as his own failure trying to be human, and thus rid himself of the human appearance and monk robes once and for all. He then retreated in shame to the mountains, where he forged his new weapon inspired by the raging flames that consumed Guanyin Temple, calling it the Red Tides out of shame and becoming the Fireblade Wolf. Haunted by voices
what a cool character.
His name out to him coming from the woods, repenting with Elder Jinqi's teachings.
Bro, so just a little quick reiteration, just so I make sure we're on the same page. I just kind of want to talk a little bit. So he took the flames and kept it alive from the burning building that he witnessed, and instead of maintaining his dream of being human, he kind of just lived with his failure instead. And naming his blade is actually fired to that concept, the Red Tides, bruh. Like, tides can be symbolic in many different meanings because water is like an ever-changing thing perspectively, bro. But like, that's crazy.
He's confronted and
that makes so sense why he's so out of the way, because he has nothing, like, he's not really messing with the current direction of not only where the gang's going now, but his own belief is also really not where they are as a whole. Like, with wanting to be human, he still kind of embodies that with how he's dressed, bro. And wearing your grief like that's crazy.
By the Destined One. He even asks the Destined One if he would lay down his weapon and meditate with him on the Buddha's mercy before engaging in combat to the death. And if you recall, I did mention that there was one other person involved with the temple fire, though. This is another Yao Guai named Guangmo, a new character in the game, who is yet another boss we can encounter in Chapter 1. Guangmo was both similar to Guangxi in that he was a Yao Guai who became a temple monk under Elder Jinqi, who also received a name from the Elder, but he was dissimilar in pretty much every other way. He was a Guai who didn't care about being human, but rather wanted to be a legendary Yao Guai master, whose legacy would be remembered for all ages, bringing glory to none other but himself. The Black Bear's other friend, the white-clad scholar, who is also referred to in-game as the White Snake Guai, saw old Lingshusi send Guangxi into the temple to become a monk, and took that as a sign of Lingshusi trying to cozy up to Elder Jinqi and therefore win favor with the Black Bear. Out of jealousy, he commanded one of his followers, a Snake Guai, to also go and train in the temple with one purpose: never fall behind, especially not behind Guangxi. He would train under Elder Jinqi, who would then name him Guangmo, which means the Great Tactician. But even though he was more intelligent than the Fireblade Wolf, often surpassing the pup monk in knowledge and show of skill, Elder Jinqi always seemed to favor Guangxi more. Not that this affected Guangmo too much, who only really wanted to finish up this job here, earning favor at the temple so that he could return to making a name for himself elsewhere. On the fateful night that Tang Sanzang and Wukong visited the temple, Guangmo also witnessed Elder Jinqi covet the Kasaya of Eversparks, and upon hearing Guangxi speak with the Elder very candidly about it, began turning his wheels, and therefore fueled the flames of the murderous plot, thinking that this would make the Elder appreciate him more, which in turn did actually impress the Elder, who for the first time acknowledged Guangmo's wit. However, after the monkey son Wukong successfully defended their bedroom chamber and the rest of the temple burned down instead, Guangmo left the monks for good. He never really cared for them too much anyway, and remained in the woods with the other Snake Guais to this day, until being found and killed by the Destined One. And now that we've taken one heck of a detour, let's return to the story of the Black Bear. After all of this temple drama, and the drama regarding the new Lingshusi's rise to power that he appointed over the new Wolf Guais, in his frustration he then tried to use the mantra to resurrect his old pal, the Elder Jinqi himself. But this resurrection was unsuccessful, and resulted in the stitched together corpses fusing with much of the gold and silver that Elder Jinqi had buried secretly in his life out of a greedy notion of keeping it all hidden, forming the big-headed crazed golem we see and kill in-game. As As a side note, it also appears that the Wandering White, which we have no other information on in-game, is also some sort of spiritual echo of the Golden Elder Jinchi Golem.
Yeah,
since
that's what
it not
I
only
assumed, something
looks
to that
and moves
degree.
and sounds the exact same, but will legitimately
call him the
disappear
baby.
entirely if the Elder Jinchi Golem is defeated before the White is, completely removing it from the game. The Black Bear Guai's efforts were not all in vain though, as he did end up repairing the temple at some point, and even going so far as to restore all of the ancient Guanyin texts, proving once again that even though he was greedy and didn't really know what he was doing sometimes, he was interested in Buddhism. He stayed here, assumedly performing his duties as protector deity of Blackwind Mountain and possibly building an army and scheming for other unknown reasons all the way up until Wukong's death, after which he happened upon a shard of Wukong's essence, the Craving Eyes relic. When the Destined One finally meets up with him in game, he immediately recognizes him as having something to do with Sun Wukong, but then tries to stop the monkey from obtaining the relic. But upon being defeated a second time on top of the summit, after even taking on his true Black Bear Yao Guai form, he pleads with the Destined One, who he refers to as the Young Sage as opposed to the Great Sage, which is the name that Wukong gave himself, begging for the monkey to spare his life. He claims that the Celestial Court were the ones who put him up to this, insinuating that he had no choice and was well aware of the fact that he would be mad to challenge the Sun Wukong, who is clearly powerful enough to have wrecked the entire Celestial Palace alone. He also claims that he had no idea how to even use the relic's power and simply placed it on top of a tower to trick the lesser Yao Guais.
Okay, so I'm gonna let this play out, but I think there was an issue. Now, I wouldn't say it's an issue, but probably with the voice acting itself, because the change in nature that the bear had would make you believe that he was possessed. But it seemed like he kind of just had a change of heart where he just valued his own life and position over the fact that, you know, like he realized he was gonna lose, so he just had to do what he had to do instead. But the voice acting made it seem like he was possessed by something, and then he got back to himself, and that's what my assumption was based off of like the animation too, because it just seemed like, I mean, I guess the guy that there's so much now, the guy that the bear befriended and whatever, like he got engrossed in that little blanket thing, whatever that Wukong gave him, and it wasn't even anything deeper than that. It was just an interpretation for how he got greedy, but nobody was possessing Buddy. He just had an order, and he just got scared and said, "Never mind." Okay.
To giving him offerings, like the greedy Guai he is. The little old dude known as the Keeper of Blackwind Mountain, who has been helping the Destined One along this whole time in Chapter 1, actually confirms the Black Bear's words. Then the bear grovels a bit more, pleading to be allowed to live, promising to run away back to the temple and put his headband back on, which is heavily implied to have been removed from his head out of a service that he performed for somebody in the Celestial Court in order to take down Sun Wukong. But that deals with a lot of the other bosses, such as Erlang Shan, and we'll be getting to that much later in another video. Anyway, the Keeper shuts his groveling up and urges the Destined One to claim his destiny and retrieve the first of the relics, after which the Black Bear isn't seen again in the game, except for in flashback cutscenes. Now, I'm sure you'll remember, there's one boss in Chapter 1 that we missed, the White-Clad Noble. I'll be honest with you, after trying extensively to research the lore behind this particular individual, I'm unfortunately unable to come up with a rock-solid answer as to where he comes from or who specifically his brother is that apparently put him up to the task of fighting against the Destined One, but I do think we have a pretty good idea that's more or less confirmed, since he's in the domain of the Black Wind King and was affiliated with the resurrected old Ling Shusi, who claims that neither of them should be there, and is also a White Serpent Guai, which just so happens to be the exact wordage that the game uses to refer to the Black Wind King's old friend, the other white-clad Scholar Serpent Guai. It's possible that he is the very same resurrected white-clad scholar who does appear in the novel that was friends with the Black Bear before being killed by Sun Wukong many years ago. I mean, he does love reading poetry and quoting it literally all the time, which is pretty scholarly in my opinion, and it would make sense given the fact that the Black Bear resurrected pretty much all of his other friends from the past, but I digress. If you know of lore contradicting or adding to anything I said in this video, by the way, please let me know in the comments below. That being said, that officially wraps up all of the lore behind every single boss in Chapter 1. If you're still watching, thank you so much. Please consider leaving a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you you haven't already for all of the other boss explanations coming very soon. And hint hint, if you're a Zelda fan, you might want to subscribe as well, since there's a new game coming later this month, which means new lore videos. Huge thanks as always to my bandit crew, who are the entire reason I make these videos in the first place, and that's about all she wrote.
This further goes to show how important the journal is in this game, bro, that there's so much lore, and I don't know if that all came from that. It seems like he did a bit of reading that and going out on his own to fully understand the scope of the characters and the story that was being told. But let me know what you guys think down below. I'm not going to make a series out of having someone explain the chapters, because I think that's kind of lame if I'm not going to do it myself fully. This is one of those things where I missed chapter 1 entirely, and now I'm glad I did this to understand. I will on my own watch more of his videos, watch other videos, and come back with a better understanding, so that when we finally beat Black Myth Wukong, I'm 100% I don't want to say understanding twice, but understanding of the journey that it took to get from point A to point B. Thank you for watching. I love y'all. And yeah, this was fire.